Hi, I'm Joe Finsternis, and tonight I'm going to be talking to you about a movie called Recycle. First of all, this movie is in the Cantonese language with English subtitles, and the Blu-ray doesn't have an English dub track on it, so I don't think the DVD is going to have one either. If you hate subtitles, I'm sorry, but this might not be for you. Anyway, the setup for the movie is pretty simple. It follows an author named Ping Yin who is, she mostly writes romance novels, but now she's writing a ghost story called Recycle, and as she's writing this novel, strange things begin to happen, and that's kind of an understatement. I'm going to get more into said strange things a little later, but the main thing that sold me with this movie is that it was made by the Pang brothers. I reviewed the I3 earlier this month, and although I didn't really care for that movie, I thought that the first two were very well made, and I was definitely interested in seeing this one for that reason. And the movie starts off pretty boring for the first 20 minutes or so. It's just kind of meh. Like the first spooky thing that happens to Ping Yin is she finds these strands of really long hair on her kitchen counter. They're too long to be her own. And I really don't get what's with Asian horror movies and hair. But when she tells one of her friends about it, she tries saying that, when you write or film something about ghosts, then they begin to appear, which sounds preposterous as hell, and it kind of makes me want to write a ghost story just to see what'll happen now. But anyway, at about the 20-minute mark, things do start to get really creepy, and it almost feels for a moment as if the Pang brothers are returning to form. It feels a little bit like the first two I movies. Also, during this little portion of the film, there were some really creepy and effective sound effects. This was yet another example of the type of film where you'd have to cover your ears to keep yourself from being scared. But then the film goes in a pretty bizarre direction, and I really don't feel like I'm spoiling too much here. I mean, you can tell by the cover alone that weird shit's gonna go down. I mean, first of all, there is some crap on the DVD, on the Blu-ray cover there, which is Disc Replay's fault. Their stickers are fucking hard to take off, but yeah, it looks pretty surreal there on the cover art. But what happens is Ping Yin starts to go into like these other worlds, and there are a lot of scenes in the movie where it's pretty interesting to look at, and there are some pretty beautiful shots in the film as Ping Yin is exploring these strange dimensions, and there are parts where it gets pretty creepy and nightmarish too, but at the same time it feels like the film wants to present all of these big ideas, and it feels like it gets way too caught up in them, and the story kind of just gets bogged down a little bit. There was even one point where the movie repeated itself. There were two different scenes that happened in a row where Ping Yin entered like this strange place, and there was some person there telling her that she's in a place where abandoned things go, and then stuff around them starts to disintegrate, and this person that gave her the information tells her that she needs to leave before she disappears. That happens 2 times in a row in this movie. And I get the idea that they were trying to be more artsy and expressionistic with this movie, and I'm all for that. I mean, 2 art house films that come straight to mind that I really enjoyed were Eraserhead and Mr. Nobody. I thought that they were amazing films, but Recycle just didn't impress me. It felt a little too self-indulgent for my taste. It even started to kind of remind me of The Cell, which is definitely not a good thing. I will say that the ending hit me pretty hard. It's not a scary ending, but there is a point where it gets really sad, and it's definitely a tearjerker for sure. But overall, it's one of those movies that's just, it never accomplishes anything more than being okay for me. Although it did have just enough positives going for it to where if it sounds like a movie you might be interested in, then I'd say maybe look for it on Netflix or something like that. Give it one watch. But I'm definitely not keeping the Blu-ray. I kind of wasted my money here. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about Recycle. I hope you all have a good one.